And we're live. Guns and hurricanes, do they mix? We're going to talk about it tonight. Welcome to Gun News Weekly. It's episode 235. Ross is in the house. Googler's here. And it's good to see everybody reporting in live from South Florida. Yeah, that's correct. And we'll touch on the whole hurricane thing. What's up, everybody? Ross, what's going on?
I got a new theme for the show. The calm before the storm.
Oh, my. we'll talk about all of the storm stuff in a bit, both with some stuff related to Houston, but also stuff for obviously what's going on here. Googler's in the house. He's also in Florida in an undisclosed area. What's up, dude?
Not much.
Are you really having a fish fry party, like to celebrate the fact that you don't have school today or something?
Nah, it's a hurricane party.
It's a hurricane party.
Yeah.
Dude, that's rad.
It's like 30 people downstairs.
So in essence, this is a gun carrier hurricane party live show.
You can say that.
All right, I said it. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you check out gunnewsweekly.com, guncarrier.com. Head on over to tacdaddy.com and take a look at some of the stuff we've got going on over there. On a personal note, thank you to everybody for reaching out. Obviously, the story of the news cycle right now on the main news stories and obviously dominating the Weather Channel is the pending impact of Hurricane IRMA. Thank you to everybody that's reached out. I've had friends from high school. I've had friends that I haven't talked to in a long time. Ross, one of our old buddies from a training class, reached out. It was cool to talk to people that were concerned, generally concerned, want to make sure that, because it sounds to me like a lot of people think that everyone that can should bug out.
Well, and it's nice to know that you know, it seems like, especially in this world, it seems like everybody claims to have your back, and in times of need, you really find out who's got your back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt about it. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. Make sure you share this with your friends. We're going to talk about some hurricane related gun news tonight, believe it or not. And there's quite a bit of it. Let's start in Houston. Let's just start there. Because that is they're still obviously recovering from what was just a savage beating. With a ton of flooding water. There's still flood waters, if I'm not mistaken. And Google, you had a couple stories related to looting and guns there.
Yeah, there's a couple articles floating around out there right now about neighborhoods and stuff banding together to prevent looting. And then there's actually a story where looters went into a house where there was an 89-year-old woman just floating in the water, and they looted her freaking house.
And that's just wrong in so many ways. I've also got a report that the ATF have some stores where the looters have stolen nearly 100 guns from Houston stores. ATF saying that shops in the city's north side and 1960 corridor, looters have been pillaging stores more often there, and the agency said that 3 dealers reported a total of 97 firearms stolen in the days after Harvey, the Category 4 hurricane with top wind speeds of 130 miles an hour, slammed into Texas' southeastern coast. It's displaced 30,000 people and 60 deaths. So anyone that's dealing with that, our condolences go out to all those people that are suffering still. Anything you can do to help. And again, we talked about it last week. Some of our friends actually we know have helped. And good on them. But yeah, a lot
really good on them.
A lot of looting and a lot of guns. I did hear quite a few stories about like curfew violations and things like that, and a lot of stories of the Second Amendment. Where's the one with the Texas? Here it is. The sheriff said there. Where's the quote? Stand by. He said, I made a comment the other day that we support the Second Amendment here in Fort Bend County, and there are many of us that are armed. I would caution those that may want to come and prey on our people here in Fort Bend County that are suffering right now so much. You may want to stay out of Fort Bend County because you could leave this county in a bag, he concluded. That's Texas talk.
It's not Texas talk. It's someone who supports the fact that people are allowed to protect themselves and their property. You know what I mean? I mean, people work and slave their whole lives for their boats and their houses and whatnot. And I'm not saying it's cool to, someone stealing your car, you can just go and blindly shoot them. But if someone's preying on you, you got a right to defend yourself.
After the storm, we talked about this. Reports emerged of people impersonating law enforcement and immigration officials who moved through the neighborhoods, ordering people to evacuate. When they did, the same people would return and now rob the empty house.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad that we got. I mean, yeah, it's just sad that we got people that will do that.
It is.
It's a tragedy. I mean, the hurricane itself is a tragedy, and then that to just double down on that tragedy with going and looting people's houses.
And again, in a lot of cases, you had Katrina survivors now living in Houston who had to deal with this again. It's tragic. Yeah. Moving on, the Virgin Islands had quite an uproar in the Second Amendment community this week, where the National Guard was authorized to seize weapons if required. Now, one thing about this story before we get too riled up, I do know that a matter of law, when the National Guard is activated in an emergency situation, they're granted power to seize weapons and other materials they deem necessary to carry out their mission. Such an order is executed every time the Virgin Island National Guard is activated. This is from a post on the social media pages from the island government social media page. He said, anyone that says otherwise is simply trying to create confusion during which is already a very stressful time. Those with concerns about this provision of the VI code should bring them to our lawmaking body following after the storm. So again, the government's saying, hey, this happens every time. It seems to be a big uproar now because all of a sudden there's this huge storm, and the United States gun community is hearing that the Virgin Islands are saying, take your guns. And that's, again, what is it? What is it?
Very un-American is what it is.
It's a territory. It's an American territory.
Yep. So I believe it's Virgin Islands is a territory, correct?
There it is. As a territory, population of about 100,000.
Very un-American to take people's guns. Very un-American.
Well,
and I mean, if you're a territory, you're trying to be like us. I would seriously question their motives on that, as I do with most of what we're gonna talk about as far as gun related disaster laws, because
got some crazy stuff to talk about on that front.
We really do. Yeah, we really do.
Let's get through a couple real quick. The ATF has also warned Florida gun dealers to prepare for Hurricane Irma in advance. They released an advisory on Tuesday encouraging all FFL dealers in the storm's potential path to, quote, safeguard their businesses by removing guns and ammo and important paperwork to a safer, drier location.
I'm smart.
I would think that most people in Florida that own a gun store have some sort of plan to move the guns if there's going to be risk of their building being compromised. Now, we saw what happened with the looters in Houston. 3 stores got compromised, 97 guns. But you would think that they'd be doing their best. But ATF is on top of that, apparently, if you want to call it that.
I think anybody who has a gun store should be very protective of their inventory, wouldn't you? I mean, I would think that would all be something you would think of long before the disaster.
Well, yeah, they're definitely putting out there that Harvey, people were taking advantage of people and the fact that no one's in homes very, very quickly after the storm and looting. So we'll wrap that up. This law thing, there it is. As Hurricane Irma heads for Florida, be sure to know your gun laws is the headline over on The Truth About Guns. What's interesting is some of the laws that are interesting. And shout out to my homeboy on social media, Tito, because he posted something earlier today about this. Hey, mute yourself if you're not talking, please. At least I can hear background music stuff. He basically was talking about Florida Statute 870.044, automatic emergency measures. Whenever the public official declares that a state of emergency exists, which our governor has, Pursuant to 870.043, the following acts should be prohibited during the period of said emergency throughout the jurisdiction. 1, the sale of or offer to sell with or without consideration any ammunition or gun or other firearm of any size or description.
Complete overreach.
Can't sell guns or ammo right now, or you're
Complete
in violation.
overreach.
You're in violation of a state statute, Ross.
The fact of the matter is there is no, during a disaster, during a shit hit the fan situation, there is no greater needed time to be able to purchase ammo. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's a complete overreach. And I'd like to know what they base those laws on. What data are they looking at that says that during disasters, people go crazy with guns and ammo? I haven't seen that.
Let me go further. The second part of this statute states that the intentional display after the emergency is declared by or in any store or shop or of any ammunition or gun or other firearm of any size or description. I hate how lawyers write.
Unbelievable.
3, the intentional possession in a public place of a firearm by any person except a duly authorized law enforcement official or person in military service acting in the official performance of his or her duty. Does that override the concealed carry permit that you own?
So this is consensual martial law is what this is. That's what they're telling you, that you can't own a right. You can't have a gun. You can't buy. You can't transport your weapons. You can't. I mean, that means you can't carry your weapon. You can't transport your weapon. It's martial law.
It sounded like, Kevin, you said displayed. So concealed carry, you should still be fine. You just can't have a gun out.
I thought it said something about transport and
intentional possession in a public place of a firearm. The intentional possession in a public place of a firearm, which means I've been violating that all week, allegedly, as a potential concealed carry.
Potentially.
Allegedly.
I think it's ridiculous that they allow themselves that kind of
that's crazy
of power. I think it's ridiculous.
The
criminals are not going to obey those laws.
I didn't read number 3 until just now, just so you know, in life. Like I read number 1 like 3 times today, but I did not read all the way down. I was like, I'll read the rest of them later. Here's another one. An act of violence or a flagrant and substantial defiance of or resistance to a lawful exercise of public authority. I don't know what that means.
You cannot take charge in a situation during an emergency. That's what it's telling you.
Now, a few other things to consider when evacuating. Where do most evacuees go to shelter? In schools. What's prohibited in schools? Let me take a step back because we talked about this last week briefly. Okay, so now you're in an area where they've said evacuate is mandatory. That means that if you don't leave, they cannot guarantee your safety and they will not send emergency vehicles to your area once shit happens. Let's say you're in one of those areas or you decide to evacuate. What do you take with you? Because you're going to end up at a hotel. You know what I mean? Now, again, you're allowed to have guns in Florida. You're allowed to possess them if you own them. You're allowed to have a concealed carry weapon. What do you take? You take everything?
You take what's most important to you. Your wife, your kids, maybe a couple pair of clean underwear, and you go.
Shout out to our old boy, Schwell. He had a great point on one thing, though, Ross. He said, for all the rifles I would leave behind, I would take the bolts. So I'd take my chosen few, and what I had to leave, put it in that safe, hope for the best, but I'd take all the bolts out.
I'd probably, if I were going to take guns, I'd probably take all the ammo I could carry, especially if I was in a car, just because that really is your limiting factor. You can have 1 5.56 out of your 3 in your collection, you know.
What if you have like 3 5.56 rifles and one of them is a legal full auto gun?
That you take, if
or an SBR,
or
an SBR.
Just make sure you drop off your litter to the ATF as you're driving past that mailbox while you evacuate.
But it's not my first priority. That's like priority.
For any interstate movement, you must notify and get approval from the ATF. You can't just drop off a letter, bro.
No, dude, you can't transport your weapons during an emergency. I'm telling you, it's martial law. It's a complete overstep. I'm surprised. I was surprised to hear it in the first place. I did not know before this thing came out that was legally the case. I don't know how they pulled that shit off.
All right, so check this out. The last one was something that I was aware of. When Governor Scott signed a bill into law in 2015 that exempts lawful gun owners from having a concealed carry permit required during a mandatory evacuation. So he was saying to everyone out there that owns a gun but doesn't have the concealed carry permit, hey, guess what? You can have a gun on you. You can protect yourself during a mandatory evacuation. However,
was that in Florida that they did that?
Yes, but once you cross the state line, you're then subject to that state's law. So you better be aware of what those are. In most cases, you're going into Georgia. Let's see. So there you go. There's some laws and things to think about. Kind of crazy, kind of.
For all the people watching and who are going to watch down in Florida, stay safe. If you think you got that covered, great. If you don't, get out while you can, man. Although with as much hype as they've been giving it, I almost wonder if karma won't swing around and move that sucker clean out to the east or something, you know?
We'll do some voodoo later in the show for sure.
Yeah. Put your fans out. Point them east.
Hey, that's a funny meme if anyone missed that one. There's like a group on that, like a Facebook group dedicated.
I seen people shooting at the storm. I seen people putting fans out.
NSSF is helping gun stores shore up security measures against theft as well. They've put out a checklist, a physical security checklist, 21 points. Talks about all the ways that you should be securing your store. Something that made the news as well this week.
God, I wonder why our government needs to teach us common sense. It just baffles me, man.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to send you this link, Googler. Tell me if you can find anything more on this thing before I talk about it. It's just bizarre. It's weird. Sorry. I was running a little behind on show prep. Obviously, need to take care of grandma's house, our house, cousin's generator. All that fun stuff today.
Charge up all the cameras. Get everything going. I want footage.
Ice.
Yeah,
we'll talk about the potential live stuff we'll be doing on my my personal channel at some point because it might be interesting enough to stream it. All right, now just regular gun news. I think Hurricane Irma. Yeah, let's just talk about some regular gun news. How about that?
Got any positive gun news in there?
Oh, I got one more.
All right,
I got one more that's halfway negative, but and this is an abbreviated story, but it's very accurate in terms of the circumstance and the result. A neighbor informed me that they went to get gas very early in the morning 2 days ago. And that's when people were starting to get into it. I mean, when I saw the one propane line at the propane place, it was crazy. And that was on Tuesday. He told me that he went to get gas and he went early he went before he was going to go to the gym. So it was really super early. Waited in line for about 20 minutes in line. And then at some point, 2 other cars butted the line of everybody, decided they wanted to get in. Him and another car did not let them in. As he's pumping gas, very aggressively and very loudly, these dudes are coming at him. To the point that he looks at them very sternly, puts his hand out, puts his hand on his waist and says, no, not one more step. They see that he's putting his hand on, putting his hand on his gun, realizes what it is and says, never mind, turns and walks away. Countless times we've talked about how many times that must happen in America in going on. There's all kinds of stories about people being rude down here. Ross, you're muted.
No, I know.
And we'll talk about some crazy behavior later as well in the show. But anyway, that's crazy story about our neighbor friend, Ross. You know who I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's so important that you have access to that stuff, Kevin, because you know, and we've been talking about the looting, and we've been talking about, you know, this story here. People will take every opportunity. Some people will take every opportunity to prey on you. And, you know, if that guy's 350 built like a brick, you know, shitter, then you're screwed if you can't transport. You know what I mean? I mean, you really are screwed. And that you will be prey to somebody like that.
Right. It's a good point. It's a good point. So
that should be a huge red flag. I'm just the last thing I want to say, man. It should be a huge red flag to the Second Amendment community that during times of need, the government insists on not only disarming us, but again, making it pretty blatant that they don't want anybody leading in that situation. Nobody can take charge in that situation. That's basically what that law says. And that's a shame, man. We're a resilient people. Texas should be demonstrating for that to us. We don't need politicians hamstringing us during our most needed times.
So when the shit hits the fan and all of a sudden you have to defend your homestead post an event that again changes culture for a couple weeks or makes people do things that they normally wouldn't do, and now you're in a threat zone, doesn't your Second Amendment right for the United States of America trump any, I forget the numbers and the letters, I already closed those windows.
It's not even about the Second Amendment. It's about your ability to protect yourself, man. I mean, it's not about something that you're given. It's about something that naturally you should be able to defend yourself against anybody. And they're hamstringing you in that regard.
You should. Agreed. All right, now around the world, just a bunch of regular random gun stories that are interesting. Eddie Eagle. You know who Eddie Eagle is? Eddie the Eagle. He's the child safety program mascot for the NRA. They released a thing saying that they've reached 30 millionth kids since it was established almost 30 years ago.
It's a lot. It's a big number.
It's a big number. It's very cool, and it needs. I want to make sure we mentioned it. But created in 1988 by the past president Marion Hammer, he decided to offer the program to pre-K through fourth grade kids, simple, effective rules to follow when they encounter a firearm in an unsupervised setting. If you see a gun, stop, don't touch, run away, tell a grown-up.
Good for them. And, you know, it's kind of ironic that we don't hear about those sort of things more often. You know what I mean? The organizations out there teaching our kids valuable lessons, teaching kids valuable lessons, and they don't get a whole lot of publicity for that. I haven't heard it.
Dude, it's fucking lit downstairs. Holy shit.
I don't know if it was lit in your house, but Ross sounded like my nephew needed to.
God, man. I tell you, kids, you just can't control them these days.
Unbelievable. All right, chart of the day. Check this out. I always had heard that it was in the 300 millions, but according to this chart, the U.S. now has more than 400 million privately owned firearms.
Sweet mother of pearl.
Look at that chart.
Look at that jump between 2010 and 2015. That's a nice little jump.
Yeah, for everyone taking a look, not just that jump, just to kind of take a look where you were born, you know? And these are 5-year increments along the way. Yeah. And just look where you were born and look at what's happened since then. I'm looking at 1970, you know, 70, about probably 120 million back in 1972, Ross.
Yeah, about that.
120 million. So now how many more? It's crazy.
Dude, it's crazy. But think about it. Firearms are not necessarily, unless you're, you know, supreme operator, they're not perishable items. They last generations and, you know, in some cases, centuries. You can expect that number is going to continue to grow as the sport, the enthusiasm for the sport, the collection, whatever it is you do with your gun increases. I think we're going to see that number soar.
It will continue to. They keep cranking them out. They're for sale at stores. You can't buy one in Florida right now, but you can buy one in a bunch of other states.
God, it's embarrassing. I'd be embarrassed to say that. I can't buy a gun or ammo right now in my state because a hurricane's coming.
Can you imagine your neighbor comes up to you, he's like, hey man, yeah, I want to make sure I protect my house at night. And, it doesn't look like the cops are responding to anything. And there's, fires to the east of us and explosions to the west. You think you can hook me up? Nah, man, there's SB 8400.234, bro. It's not going to happen, man.
Nah, what's really bad is it would be like, hey, dude, I got 100 rounds for you for $7,000.
$1 million.
You're an asshole, Ross.
Hey.
I'm not saying I would do it, but that people would be out there doing that. I mean, look what they did. Look what they did to the price of guns and ammo during the last administration. Of course, there are a lot of people out there that are willing to do that sort of thing.
Exactly. If you're an asshole.
True enough. I've been called worse.
All right. I can get you fired up a little bit more tonight, Ross. It can happen. I've got the tabs to prove it.
Bring it on.
On Friday, Oregon Governor Kate Brown signed into law a bill establishing circumstances under which citizens of the state could be forced to surrender their firearms to government agents. According to the bill's language, quote, a law enforcement officer or a family or household member of a person may file a petition requesting that the court issue an extreme risk protection order enjoining the person from having in the person's custody or control, owning, purchasing, possessing, receiving, or attempting to purchase or receive a deadly weapon.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, what a slippery slope. I mean, yeah, on face value, you think to yourself, that's not that bad, trying to keep the guns out of people who may not necessarily need a gun in their hands. But anybody, any family member, your anti-gun Aunt Sally could be like, Tax got a gun and he's unstable as Jack. And then it's gone.
This is called an IRPO.
Oh,
Extreme Risk Protection Order. The IRPO hearing is held ex parte. The accused is not present to defend themselves. This is a good point in the article. Even when you consider the Second Amendment right, the IRPO violates your Sixth Amendment right, which gives you a right to a fair trial.
Absolutely. Innocent until proven guilty.
This one says basically not the other.
Yeah. It's very slippery slope. On the face, those not in the know, those kind of leading with their heart would think, oh, this is such a great, of course you don't want, if your family doesn't think you should have it, of course you shouldn't have it. But we all know that some will stop at nothing to rid the earth of guns.
It is true. Where was that? It was in Oregon. Yeah. Staying in Oregon. Do you remember this guy in this video? We talked about it a while ago. We can show just a little bit of it, but he was at an Oregon protest and he got surrounded to the point that he pulled his gun. Do you remember this?
He's in big trouble right now.
He's in big trouble.
He's in big trouble.
I was going to put up, hold on. Maybe I can.
So this is interesting.
Anyway, basically, citizen judge, he was a CCW holder. He's been convicted in 5 minutes. He's in big trouble.
So we've talked about this many times on the show. This really is a case of he went up against a very liberal anti-gun judge. That was in Oregon, wasn't it?
Yes. His bail very $250,000 and 10
very anti-gun judge, and he got it handed to him. He threw everything he could at him, even though the guy's got a right to protect himself. In that situation, I'd be scared out of my mind, man. You know what I mean?
But there's more to the case, and that's what this article is about, because he got convicted of all 21 counts. However, now he can't blog or write anymore. He can't go near any protest. He can't video any protests. They basically taken away his ability to earn the way he used to.
Yeah. It's like I said, anytime you pull a gun, you are subject to a whole bunch of unknowns, like what kind of judge you're going to go up against, what kind of cops you're going to get on, after the situation. That's why having some sort of protection is is something that you should consider, because it's a tough road, man. It can be extremely tough. And then in other cases, it can be you go home that night and you know, have to appear before somebody, but it's not much of an inconvenience. And in some cases, you go to jail for 5 years, and you know, all for protecting yourself.
Yeah, well, here's a story about a woman. I guess I'm not too sure where she is. It's on the Iowa gun owners page somehow. I don't know where someone sent us this, I believe, actually. But this is a story about a young lady who took things in her own matter because she's 4'11", 85 pounds. In Arizona.
Let him shoot me first.
A gun to her neck, split seconds to save herself. Tonight, a Glendale woman breaking her silence after pulling her trigger before the bad guy.
It's an exclusive ABC 15 interview. Navita Fergani joins us live at the gas station where all of this happened. And Navita, she was almost tricked here.
God, I hate the way they talk on regular news. I just hate it. All right, this makes me crazy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He asked her for a cigarette and a lighter before he threatened to take her life, but she actually channeled in what her father, a Marine, taught her about protecting herself. Meet Carol Ann Miracle.
4'11".
And how much do you weigh?
I'm like 85 pounds.
Her size has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of fight she has in her.
Scared at first. I was like, oh my God, am I really being robbed?
Carol Ann walked into this Circle K early Monday morning with her family when she says this guy, Frank Taylor, tried to bum a cigarette. Seconds after asking, she says she could feel the barrel of his gun against her skin.
He stuck a gun in my neck and told me, this little don't move. I think he thought, well, she's a little girl. Maybe she doesn't know how to use her weapon.
But that couldn't be further from the truth.
Dropped my soda, released my gun from my holster, cocked it, and shot him. And then we ran the opposite way.
She says she didn't know if the other people in the parking lot were in on the holdup. So she ran home to call 911.
He had started stumbling back that way.
Coming back to this gas station is emotional now.
Standing here brings back it replays the whole thing.
And Carol Ann tells me she's struggling with what happened and will for some time.
I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for his mom, and I found out he had a 1-week-old baby. And I feel bad for what I did. I didn't mean to kill him, but I had to defend my sister.
And I think we pretty much all agree that that's how that story goes.
Yep, because Arizona has a stand your ground law.
Yeah, and obviously she's going to be found, you know, she's not even going to get charged for what she did.
Well, a super powerful story too. I mean, it really highlights the fact that, you know, taking a life is very difficult. You know what I mean? But you do what you got to do.
Good point. I've got 3 stories. Hold it, stand by. Maybe even 4 stories of people doing dumb stuff. Yeah. All right. Let's do dumb stuff. Domestic call ends in a standoff, shooting death of a BB gun wielding suspect. A suspect who was killed after an hour-long standoff in Vermont had been armed with a BB gun, police said last week. 32-year-old Michael Battles was on probation at the time of the shooting. He was described as, quote, an extensive criminal history, including felony convictions. Domestic complaint Thursday night, the deputy first responded, located the victim at a neighbor's home. She had been beaten, choked with, and left with visible injuries. He was the fiance. He fled on foot after he threatened to kill her. She feared for her life. They went into the neighbor's house. There was a standoff. Knocks at the front door were ignored. He gets on the second-story window, yells at the officer, waves the gun, said that he had an arsenal, said he would be, quote, real hard and would have to give it to the officers if they had come for him. He barricades himself inside the house. Further, days pass. A judge signed a search warrant for the home, and after more than an hour of additional attempts to get him to surrender, they breached the front door of the residence with a tactical vehicle. He briefly walked out onto the porch. When he returned inside the home, still refused to come out. He stood in the hallway. He observed and feel the holster. Nothing was in his hands at the time, but they couldn't get him. Then he was holding what appeared to be the rifle and aimed it at the officers below from the window above. And the state troopers opened fire, they were at that point fearing for their lives.
Of course they were. They didn't know he had a BB gun.
Stupid is as stupid does.
Yeah, don't bring a BB gun to a gunfight. You know, I mean, if you're going to play games like that, that's death by cop is what that ends up being, right? I mean, what idiot runs around waving BB guns around unless he's trying to prove some sort of point or he's just an idiot.
So Googler, it is true though, correct? Like the premise of this thing?
Yeah, it's partially true.
Hard shift of a gear. All right, well, let's watch this video real quick. We'll watch the first minute of it, and then we'll come back to discuss it. This one's, I mean, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it, but I'll let it all be stated here.
To Sacramento City Council members when it comes to cracking down on gang violence. They unanimously passed a program called Advanced Peace, despite a head-to-head battle between Mayor Steinberg and Council member Angelique Ashby. Fox 40's Doug Johnson joining us now live at Meadowview Park. And Doug, the vote comes the same night as a vigil for the latest victim of gun violence.
That's right, Nikki. A fairly large-sized crowd came out here to Meadowview Park earlier tonight. You can see they've left candles, flowers, and photos of the victim. And while the city council's actions tonight may reduce crime in the future, friends and family of Ernie Cadena are upset it's too late for him.
He was a wonderful father. And
okay, so sadly, there's stories about people who have been murdered with by the gang members, but now they're offering gang members money and a stipend to not kill people. Advanced Peace is the name of that. That's also weird to me. It's almost like Minority Report stuff. It's like Advanced Peace. They're going to predict advanced peace.
So you know what this is going to cause? This is going to cause one group of people to get started getting paid $20, say they get paid $200 a day not to kill. Then another gang is going to come along and they're going to require it be $300 a day. And it's just going to be a bloodbath out there until they realize that this is the dumbest thing they've ever thought of.
Tell us how you feel.
Come on, man. This is a free market, dude. People are going to be like finding ways to capitalize on this. So who are they going to pay? They're going to pay the Bloods more than the Crips, more than the LA, whatever the what's, you know what I mean? How are they going to determine that these guys aren't killing people? I don't know, man. What a stupid idea. People are smoking crack out there. That shit's gotten to them.
Well, let me tell you what's going on in Detroit, Ross. You know what's going on in the D? That's what Casey would have said if he was here. But watch this.
Yeah, I never kill anybody. Somebody pay me $1 million. I ain't killed nobody yet.
Watch this. I know you saw the guy working there turn and get out of there quickly, right? That's because the mother has a CCW license, but she's doing it all the wrong way. Her daughter is fighting another woman and her daughter over a folder or like school supplies. The mother watches this, steps back, pulls the gun out of her purse on the people in Walmart.
And that poor little girl and boy sitting right there watching the whole damn thing.
And check out the dude that works there. He's like, I'm out. He's like, goodbye. Yeah. There are employees there now. There was 2 employees that were probably going to, say, hey, everybody calm down. Mom pulls the gun. And again.
Well, I'm here to tell you, this year we ran short on a few supplies. Walmart was out by the time we had gotten there. And Amazon still got that shit. So put your gun away, stop fighting your fellow man or woman, and order from Amazon, for Christ's sake.
Crazy. Just
sorry. I don't know who performs short on a few supplies. Walmart was out.
What the
Always listening, Ross. Always listening.
Why were you talking to her, Ross?
That was very strange. I even got that function shut off. Who's hacking my crap?
It's part of the Matrix. And here's a sad story, but once again, there is a level of derp here that we need to talk about. That's what the kids say, derp, right? Deputy in Ohio shoots photographer without warning. A sheriff's deputy in Ohio is on administrative leave after he shot a newspaper photographer Monday night, allegedly because he mistook the man's camera tripod for a gun. Andy Grimm went out to take photos of lightning at 10 p.m. Monday night when he came across a traffic stop. He was setting up his camera to photograph the stop, and that's when he was shot in the side. I was going to take pictures, and I saw the traffic stop, and I thought, hey, cool, I'll get some pictures here.
Woof.
Under a light, he had a press pass around his neck. He turned towards
Obviously, he's not yelling to like put the gun down or anything. He just took a shot, huh?
There was no warning, according to the victim of the shooting. And he says he knows the deputy who pulled the trigger. This is a town of 5,000 people. We know the deputies. We work with them on a daily basis. We have an excellent relationship with them. I like Jake. I know Jake. I don't want him to lose his job over this, Andy said.
I wonder if he wrote a bad article or something. I don't want to make light of anything like that. But
pulled out his tripod and got behind it, and this guy saw something that he mistook for an optic or something and pulled out his gun and started shooting him.
Jesus. He was setting up his machine gun during that traffic stop. It just seems unreal that sort of thing happens in this day and age.
I think that's a repeat story.
Yeah, I agree with the chat. He may need a little more training.
Yeah.
You like at least say, hey, stop, put the gun down. Oh, it's a tripod?
All right, just a couple more quick stories, and then we're going to wrap up. Father-son dredge WW2 guns out of river in Great Britain, and boy, did they get an arsenal. I can't share the picture, but go on over to guns.com and check this story out. They found a cache, 30 guns. They were fishing with magnets in a river near their home in southwest England.
There are a bunch of channels out there that do that magnet fishing. I've actually watched a few of those.
What? I've never heard of magnet fishing.
I swear to God, man, it's like big in Europe. But they'll go into these channels and whatnot and pull out all kinds of like World War II helmets and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's the image.
Yeah, it seems legit.
What is that?
That's the image of the father and son.
Thank you. I can share it now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, check this out. There you go. So they had quite a few there.
Looks like a few Mosins.
That would be fun, you know, as decayed as they would be and everything. It'd still be very cool.
I think so.
All right. Let's see what else we got. Getting low on the power on the Facebook feed. If you want to watch the rest of the show, if I get out of here on Facebook, go on over to YouTube. Check out the Gun Carrier YouTube page. Subscribe and watch the show there. The rest of it, you can see some of these videos and pictures we're sitting here talking about. I always feel bad for the Facebook viewers because we're talking.
They got to look at you all night.
Yeah, that too. They have to look at me. Good call. Fueled by Hollywood, California ranks among the highest in the NFA item world. According to the Firearms Commerce Report, most NFA items, if not all, in California belong to police and movie prop houses.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I bet you nobody else can get them.
The state has 15,000 silencers registered. Huh.
Did just 15,000?
Yes.
I've actually seen numbers that put California up there on gun ownership. There's a lot of people that own guns in California.
They have more registered destructive devices than any other state, 272,000, compared to Texas with 250,000. destructive device.
That's pretty impressive considering those numbers, that there's only 15,000 suppressors out there.
Out of quote unquote full auto machine guns, California has almost 30,000 on the books. Only 6 states have more.
And Arnold would be the one with them all.
Select fire weapons, cane guns, short-barreled shotguns, SBRs, and homemade suppressors continue to show up in circulation. Questionable legality. Interesting. All right. A couple more stories, and then we're going to wrap up. University of Michigan. Yeah, we did that one. Yeah. I guess we got a new contestant in the I don't know. I just posted this and called the guy White Voda.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Check this guy out for a minute.
Stress. I'm not going to use the sight. I got to use instinctive shooting. Many people cock the firearms and the injured on the leg or sometime on the heel. And this is not correct because now I have 2 movements. One hand shooting this way. Okay, it's for me the incorrect one. Okay? Okay, so
didn't we talk about this guy a couple years ago, Ross?
There was another one. It might have been the same guy, but he was doing somersaults and
yeah. This is the range though, too. With tires. I remember this guy.
Yeah,
he's come back around.
I want to know first of all,
a lot of
if you're not carrying in the pipe, if you're not carrying one in the pipe, you ought to be.
That's that whole Israeli special officer debate. Remember, there's like a whole bunch.
He doesn't show any reloads. All he shows is the rack as you pull it from concealment. He shows no reloads in that.
Lightning fast racking of the slide. Though. I mean,
but I don't get it. If you're not already prepared for the fight, the chances of you being able to be prepared for the fight, if you're not already prepared for it, are slim.
Now, Ross,
it's an attack. It's not like
11, 85-year-old pounder earlier in the show. We declined to mention the fact that she said, I pulled my gun, I cocked it, and then I shot him.
I missed that completely. Yeah, but it's very seldom that that's going to happen. These are attacks. It's not, let me meet you at 3 o'clock on the playground. You know what I mean? They're attacks. You're being attacked. I don't understand what the principle behind the fastest rack in the world is. Teach me the fastest reload. How about that? Because I should be prepared for that.
Because you rack it before you leave the house if it's in a proper, a proper holster with good retention, etc.
I never unrack it. I don't know what you mean rack it. There's always a bullet in that chamber.
Always a bullet in the chamber, or when you're maintaining it, there's no bullets. It's either bulleted or
not. True enough. All
right.
But that means you got to shoot. Yeah. True enough.
All right. We talked about that. Real quick product stuff. Let's just talk about a few different things. I have an article over on Gun Carrier. If anyone wants to go check it out, guncarrier.com. The best alternative to a firearm. What do you think it is?
Ooh.
Ballistic knife.
Any other weapon.
How about...
Isn't that what they called that shotgun, and any other weapon?
AOW. This is one of the new Kanai satchel bags. It's called the. I'll be correct about it. This one's called the Viator messenger bag. And inside here, let me get the light get caught up. It's got a secret pocket. I got the Nate squared holster in there. What I got in there is the Taser Pulse. So if you never checked this out, couple of videos, a little bit of article telling you why we have these and why we think they're cool.
We got to play with those at SHOT Show.
That video is embedded in that one. Where Target. And it's pretty dead on.
Very cool product.
One day someone will get tased, Ross.
A chair or?
No. A chair, maybe. Good thing I wasn't there, let me tell you.
Yeah, I could see you sitting in that chair. That's all I'm saying.
You better watch yourself, man.
Then we'd be talking about when you got tased.
I could go tell her to watch this. Like Ross was talking.
It's a big improvement off the previous model of that thing. It really is a nice improvement. The Pulse.
It is, and I dig the bag too. I mean, I'm going to do a full review on it, but it's like a great size, and the fact that there's that secret place in there—not secret, but like CCW compartment, so to speak. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and huge shout out to Kanai. Those guys.
Right on. Yeah, good
shirts.
shirts.
Great equipment.
We'll be talking about their stuff soon as well. I think that's all I got tonight, Ross.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about hurricanes for a second. Because everyone seems to want to talk. So we can tell everyone we're wrapping up the gun talk right now. And I appreciate everyone that was here to see the gun talk. But some of the gun-related stuff we can still talk about, you know.
Yeah.
Patrolling your neighborhood, that kind of stuff.
I'm praying for Florida. I'm praying that she goes east. But if she doesn't, I pray that you guys are prepared because I think it's going to be if it hits like they say it's going to hit, like they're awfulizing it's going to hit, and it's the strongest in recorded history. First of all, that's not saying a whole lot, you know, 150 years out of a couple thousand, but be safe.
Couple thousand? That's how long this rock's been around?
I don't know how long the big rock's been around, but it's definitely been at least a couple thousand by the earliest accounts, right?
By most accounts, we're all in places where at some point there was a couple miles of ice.
Right, a kabillion years or whatever that number is, because of carbon dating and all that. But Dynasty. You know, yeah, right. The dynasty, yeah, whatever. But stay safe down there. Help out your neighbor. Be generous. Be willing to accept the help that's coming.
I think hunker down and be in a safe spot once these winds start is the best advice you can give anybody. You know what I mean? Your neighbor, your fellow man. If you're down water, if you didn't prepare, if you don't have clean clothes or a meal, you're gonna get it. There's gonna be help here. But man, be safe when the shit's flying, because that's to me. We were here for Wilma. Wilma went directly over our house. We came out in the eye and walked the dog, looked at neighbors and said, we better get back in. And then we all came out afterwards. And then it was, how are we going to get out of the neighborhood? All the trees are down. So next thing you know, you got a bunch of homeowners with chainsaws taking care of what needed to be taken care of. I'll never forget going to that. And I was not prepared. We did not have a generator. And
you were only down there for what, a year?
We could feel the door too. The front door was just moving. And that was, Wilma was a 2.5, but I'm telling you, it was a 3. That it was moving. It uprooted some big trees. I mean, big trees. And what I'm worried about this time is the wind inland. Cause I'm inland. I'm not on the coast. I'm not like looking at the ocean. A lot of people think Florida, they think everyone's got a condo on the beach.
Yeah, but you're not far. You know what I mean? Even 10, 15 miles from the coast is still pretty damn close, dude.
Oh, no. I can be on South Beach in 40 minutes. I can be to the beach in, about a 15 minute.
And it ain't like that thing couldn't engulf all of southern Florida in like nothing flat.
Well, we're used to heavy rain here. We're used to, certain amount of wind. We're used to massive, rainstorms. But this is sustained and it's for a long time. And you're talking about buildings that have been built since the 50s and 60s all the way to modern day. What was the guy saying about hurricane glass? Because I'm bet someone out there is watching is curious, because we have hurricane glass. We're not going to put up shingles shutters because you don't have to when you have hurricane glass, because what was he saying?
The hurricane glass is tougher to break than the connection to your wall. So they're hitting it with sledgehammers, and that hurricane glass will withstand it to the point of you're breaking the frame of your window before any damage is happening. So that's pretty good stuff, man. I've never seen anything quite like that. It was interesting to hear that today.
Yeah. And we do have a backyard with a pool with a screened-in enclosure, and that's like a 2-story screened-in enclosure. And after Wilma, our screen enclosure it survived. 2 screens came out, but down the street, just randomly, they got crushed. There were so many, screen business was real good for a while. So there'll be a bunch of debris. There'll be a bunch of won't have to deal with like storm surge here, But all those people that they're talking about, that's what they worry about when it comes to like your safety. Because if all of a sudden you're in water or your home is in water and you have nowhere to go, that's when you have trouble.
Oh yeah. And don't forget about Texas. They're still fighting that. Exactly that, where they're inundated with all that water. So
well, and
a lot of disasters around the country, man. You know, there's been hurricane after hurricane.
That other thing, Ross, the Montana thing, that was the last thing on my list. You told me about
the fires.
Over 1 million acres have been burned since this started. And you were saying it's not going to stop till it snows, they think?
Yeah, they're saying that there's no relief in sight until possibly the first snowfall, which, you know, they're months away from that, dude. I've heard reports that they're up there literally suffocating. I was telling you before the show, this Saturday here in Colorado, and see a half a mile from where you were standing because the amount of smoke that had blown in from these Montana fires. And Kevin, we're 800 miles away from those fires. That's how big that stuff is.
And obviously the Houston story took away a lot of the national attention of that being a story.
Oh, catastrophe. Montana's gotten almost no, recognition, national recognition because of the horrible hurricanes.
Right.
And you know,
crazy,
man, you're Thanks, in the path of a big one.
I'll on my personal Facebook page, I'll do some of my stuff. If there's anything gun related, I'll obviously get on gun carry and do some stuff there. Maybe the American Gun Association as well. But
promise me video of the screen going if it goes,
dude. Man, it's the other thing. The other thing that people don't realize is how loud it is. And so here's the other tip I put on Facebook today was get your ear pro. You know, it's loud. It's like there's a jet engine outside with the winds howling at 100 miles an hour. It's loud.
And for those of you that might be a little slow, not the electronic stuff either. You got to use the hard stuff because not loud enough to turn that on.
Well, most of the electronic stuff, you just don't even turn it on and you have pretty good earmuffs, bro. But yeah, I'll double up. I'll have fun there. But I checked that out, made sure I had enough for everybody. And you know, it's going to be a show. You look outside and it looks like that stuff you're seeing. Hopefully, God willing, the house is sound. Everyone will be safe. And again, everybody who's watching as well that's in the Florida path, hopefully you're all safe. And hopefully, I'm not counting on it. Next Thursday night's in question.
By Thursday, I wonder if you guys will even have power by then.
Again, on a personal note, because I know we have a lot of friends that watch this one and have been with us for years watching. I mean, I'm worried. I'm pretty much resolved that we're going to have 2 weeks power out, and I've got underground power, but I'm counting on 2 weeks out for sure. And if it's 3 days or it's a day or it's a week, I'll be happy. But I'm prepared for, again, no problem, fuel and everything for generator. And then I'm counting on the screen taking off. I just 120 mile an hour winds. At least have some blown out, you know, some of the actual screen portions and stuff.
Make sure your insurance is up to date.
Good to go. Any last minute tips I can give people would be cash for after, safety during, ear pro during. What else?
Freeze water and
freeze water and thank yous. Anything, old water bottles, Tupperware containers, fill your bathtub / spa / whatever you have with water, and make sure you have a couple buckets. You're gonna do your own flushing for a while.
Trash and everything.
Pretty much, and water filtration / those desalination pills or whatever. Not that desalination. There's some sort of pills, chlorine pills that you can put in water. Boil water. Make sure you have fuel for all your propane and all that stuff. We have one more day. We have all day tomorrow, and then Saturday they say the winds are going to start in the morning. It'll be 40 mile an hour plus most of Saturday, and then Sunday is when it's going to hit. That's the latest I heard. And the question is, where's that eye go? And I'm not going to try to be a meteorologist anymore.
So you're
Black Swan has been deflated. Down for the count. He is down. Thanks for asking. Yeah, everything that literally the only thing left out there that I did bring in for some reason is the one hose. Everything else that can be a projectile has been brought in, and everybody else should. And I'm gonna walk around the neighborhood, maybe yell at some folks.
Hey, throw it in the chat. You think tying furniture up to the side of your house is a good idea in a category 4 hurricane?
We're done with Facebook and we just got booted. Tie in your furniture versus taking it inside if able.
Yeah, you're side of the house. That sounds like a good idea to you?
No. There's bungee cords, Ross. Bungee cords. Who would do something
by a flying lawn chair? Don't come crying to me.
the Lake Worth area? We have nothing to do with it. We have warned our parents. Watching everyone prepare is funny, by the way. But in all honesty, I hope everyone's safe. And we'll do our best to be here next week, but don't count on it. It's probably going to be power out. But shit, maybe I'll just, it'll stink. But I might just, again, it's my gas, it's my generator. Maybe we'll just run a power cord. But the problem is the internet line and all that stuff. You're really going to struggle. But anyway, we'll see what we can do, and we'll do our best. And if not, we'll be on the following week, and we'll do our best to get back on the air as quick as possible. Ross, thanks as always.
Thanks, man. Again, I can't say it enough. Stay safe out there, guys, all the way up the East Coast. Let's pray she doesn't do any damage at all, but be prepared for the worst. Kevin, another great Thursday. Everybody in the chat, thanks for joining.
Hey, Ross, Googler pointed out that your couple thousand year thing is off by approximately 4.5 billion Earth years.
Give or take a billion, whatever.
We weren't doing carbon dating samples back then, though.
Yeah, because be all end all of dating.
It's in the ice sample. They can measure charcoal in ice samples. That's about 1 million years. Science.
Hunting or whatever it is you're going to do.
He's having a party. What are you guys eating?
Oh, it's a fish fry.
Fish fry
with chips.
No, they did eggplant. They deep fried eggplant. It's pretty good.
Good job, Ross. That was a good one. Dude, have fun. Tell your friends to be safe as well, and don't do anything stupid if this thing comes your way. And I know you won't, but be safe. Thanks for jumping in tonight, and I'll let you know about next week as soon as I know something.
Sounds good. Let me know. I got my internet on backup battery, so.
And a huge thanks to Frank and everyone that has supported us along the way. And Frank is the reason that we have a whole house generator. So thanks triply to Frank tonight. Make sure you check out Gun Carrier on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram now. Make sure you check out the American Gun Association over on Facebook. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great week. Stay safe out there. If you're in the path, hunker down. If you're on your way out of here, I hope you have safe travels, and I hope you find a place that's dry and safe, and we'll see you when you return. Ross, Googler, talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace, brother.